You think you know everything about Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins? You think their picture-perfect wrestling power couple fairy tale was real? Well, buckle up, because what just went down backstage is about to shatter everything you believed about the man and the visionary. And I'm warning you right now, what Becky just revealed to Seth after those divorce papers were served is so explosive, so absolutely devastating, that it's going to change WWE forever. This isn't clickbait. This isn't speculation. This is the cold, hard truth that nobody saw coming, and trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be absolutely furious at how this entire situation was handled behind closed doors. Let me paint you the picture of what allegedly happened last Tuesday night after SmackDown went off the air. Sources close to the situation, and I mean close, have confirmed that Becky Lynch confronted Seth Rollins in the backstage area near gorilla position, just minutes after he finished his segment. Now, here's where it gets insane. Seth apparently had no idea that divorce papers were being filed. None. Zero. The man who prides himself on being in control, on being the architect of his own destiny, was completely blindsided. And what Becky told him in that heated exchange? It's the kind of bombshell that doesn't just end a marriage, it obliterates everything they built together. According to multiple witnesses who were within earshot, and these are people who have worked with WWE for years and have never leaked anything before, Becky didn't hold back. She apparently told Seth that the reason she's been absent from television, the reason she's been taking time off, wasn't for rest or family time like everyone assumed. No. The real reason is because she's been in secret negotiations with another promotion. And not just any promotion. We're talking about a deal that would make her the highest paid female wrestler in the history of professional wrestling. But here's the nuclear part that nobody's talking about yet. She allegedly told Seth that she did this because she's tired of living in his shadow, tired of WWE politics protecting him while she gets pushed aside, and tired of their personal relationship being used as a storyline prop for ratings. Now, before you start typing fake news in the comments, let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw Becky and Seth together on screen? When was the last time they posted about each other on social media? Go ahead, I'll wait. Check their Instagrams right now. Notice anything? The photos are gone. The cute couple posts, deleted. The family pictures, scrubbed clean. You think that's a coincidence? In wrestling, there are no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason, and the reason behind this is far more calculated and far more devastating than anyone wants to admit. Here's what really gets under my skin about this whole situation. WWE had to have known this was coming. There's no way that a contract negotiation of this magnitude, a personal situation this explosive, happens without the office knowing about it. Which means Triple H knew. Which means the higher-ups knew. And they said nothing. They let Seth Rollins continue to appear on television, continue to cut promos about his legacy and his future, all while knowing that his personal life was imploding behind the scenes. That's not just unprofessional, that's cruel. That's using someone's real-life pain for potential storyline material, and it's exactly the kind of thing that makes fans like us question everything we see on screen. But let's dig deeper into what Becky allegedly said during this backstage confrontation, because this is where it gets truly controversial. Multiple sources claim that she brought up specific instances over the past 2 years where she felt she was deliberately held back to protect Seth's position on the card. Remember when Becky was on fire after her return from maternity leave? Remember how she was getting nuclear reactions every single night? And then suddenly, inexplicably, her momentum just died? She was put in mid-card feuds, given terrible promos, booked to look weak against opponents she should have destroyed. Meanwhile, Seth was main eventing premium live events, getting title shot after title shot, and being positioned as the face of Monday Night Raw. Now, WWE would tell you that's just how the booking worked out. That's just creative decisions being made for the good of the overall product. But Becky apparently sees it differently. She allegedly told Seth that she has proof, actual documentation, of creative meetings where decisions were made to prioritize his career over hers because the marriage couldn't handle two megastars. Let that sink in for a moment. The implication here is that WWE's creative team, the people responsible for telling stories and building stars, actively chose to suppress one of the most overperformers in the company because they were worried about how it would affect her relationship with another performer. If that's true, and I emphasize if because we're dealing with sources and allegations here, but if that's true, then we need to have a serious conversation about how WWE treats their female talent, especially when they are in relationships with male wrestlers. This isn't the first time we've heard whispers of something like this. Edge and Lita back in the day, Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. There's always been this unspoken rule that when a female wrestler is with a male wrestler, her career takes a backseat. But in 2025, after everything the women's division has accomplished, after the women's revolution, that's not just outdated, that's insulting. Quick question for you guys in the comments, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think WWE has ever held back a female wrestler because of her relationship with a male wrestler? Drop your answers below, and let's get a real conversation going about this, because this affects more than just Becky and Seth. Now, here's where the story takes another dark turn. Seth apparently didn't take this confrontation well, and honestly, who could blame him? Your wife just told you she's leaving, she's potentially leaving the company, and she's blaming you and your career for the death of hers. That's heavy. That's the kind of thing that would break anyone. But according to witnesses, Seth's response was, let's just say it wasn't pretty. He allegedly raised his voice, started pointing fingers, and had to be separated by multiple backstage personnel including some producers and agents. Security had to get involved. Think about that for a second. Two of WWE's biggest stars, a married couple with a child together, having a meltdown so severe that security had to intervene. And this all happened while other wrestlers were still in the building, while crew members were breaking down the set, while people with cameras and phones were everywhere. The fact that this didn't leak immediately is actually shocking, which tells me that WWE went into full damage control mode the second it happened. Here's what we know Triple H did in the immediate aftermath. He called an emergency meeting with both Seth and Becky separately. He reportedly told them both that whatever's happening in their personal lives needs to stay away from the product, that WWE can't afford another public scandal, especially not with WrestleMania season approaching. But here's the thing that's really messed up about that response: WWE has made millions, maybe billions, off the personal lives of their wrestlers. They've built entire storylines around real relationships, real breakups, real drama. But when it actually matters, when their talent is genuinely hurting, suddenly it's keep it private, don't bring it to work. The hypocrisy is staggering. They'll use your real-life marriage for a feel-good moment on Total Divas or on WWE programming. They'll have you cut promos about your real family, your real struggles, your real emotions. But the second things get messy, the second the fairy tale crumbles, they want nothing to do with it. They want you to suffer in silence while they protect the brand. And that's exactly what they are asking Seth and Becky to do right now. But here's where Becky's alleged bombshell gets even more nuclear, and this is the part that should absolutely infuriate every wrestling fan watching this video. She apparently told Seth, in front of multiple witnesses, that she's been in therapy for over a year dealing with depression and anxiety directly related to her career and their marriage. She's been struggling, genuinely struggling with her mental health, and instead of getting support, instead of getting help, she was expected to just push through it because that's what wrestlers do. She was expected to show up, perform, smile for the cameras, pretend everything was perfect, all while falling apart on the inside. And WWE knew. The company knew she was in therapy. They knew she was struggling. And what did they do? They kept booking her, kept putting her out there, kept squeezing every last drop of value out of her without actually addressing what she needed. That's not just bad business, that's inhumane. That's treating your talent like commodities instead of human beings with real feelings and real problems. This brings me to another question I want you to answer in the comments. How much responsibility does WWE have for the mental health of their performers? Should they be doing more to support wrestlers who are struggling? Let me know your thoughts, because this is a conversation the industry desperately needs to have. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because this story is far from over. The divorce papers are real. They've been filed. There's no going back from that. But the question everyone's asking is, what does this mean for both of their careers? Seth is currently in the middle of a major storyline on Raw. Becky hasn't been seen on WWE programming in months. If she's really in negotiations with another company, if she's really planning to leave WWE, then we could be witnessing the end of an era. But here's what bothers me about all of this. We're going to get the corporate PR statement. We're going to get the "we wish them both the best in their future endeavors" nonsense. We're going to get the sanitized, approved version of events that protects WWE's image and makes everything seem amicable and professional. But we're not going to get the truth. We're not going to hear about the backstage politics, the deliberate sabotage of Becky's career, the mental health struggles, the real human cost of this industry. We're going to get the fairy tale ending where everyone moves on and everything's fine, when in reality, two people's lives have been completely destroyed by this business. And that's what makes me angry. That's what should make all of you angry, because Becky Lynch is one of the greatest performers of this generation. She's main event WrestleMania. She's carried this company through some of its darkest periods. She's inspired millions of fans around the world. And instead of being celebrated, instead of being supported, she's being pushed out, broken down, and discarded. And for what? To protect Seth Rollins? To maintain the status quo? To avoid difficult conversations about how WWE actually treats their female talent? Here's something else that came out during that backstage confrontation that's going to blow your mind. Becky allegedly told Seth that she's been approached by multiple companies over the past 6 months. Not just one. Multiple. And the offers she's been getting? They are insane. We're talking guaranteed contracts, creative control, profit participation, the whole 9 yards. These companies see what WWE refuses to acknowledge, that Becky Lynch is a legitimate mainstream star who could be the face of any wrestling company in the world. But WWE? They've been lowballing her. They've been offering her contracts that are significantly less than what Seth makes, even though her merch sales have consistently been in the top 5 for the entire company. Even though her segments regularly draw huge ratings. Even though she's one of the most recognizable wrestlers on planet Earth. And when she pushed back, when she demanded to be paid what she's worth, she was told to be patient, to wait her turn, to understand the business. Translation: know your place, be grateful for what you have, and don't make waves. That's the real bombshell here. Not the divorce, as tragic as that is. Not the backstage confrontation, as dramatic as that sounds. The real bombshell is that WWE has systematically undervalued and undermined one of their biggest stars simply because she had the audacity to demand equal treatment. And when she finally had enough, when she finally stood up for herself, they painted her as the problem. They made her feel guilty for wanting more. They made her feel like she was being unreasonable for expecting to be treated the same way as her male counterparts. Sound familiar? It should, because this is the same story we've heard from countless female wrestlers over the years. The same story we heard from Sasha Banks before she left. The same story we've heard from so many others who got tired of fighting an uphill battle against a system that was never designed to let them win. Let me ask you one more question before we wrap this up. And this is important: if Becky Lynch leaves WWE, would you follow her to wherever she goes? Would you support her the same way you supported her in WWE? Drop a comment and let me know, because I think the answer to that question is going to determine what happens next in women's wrestling. So where does this leave us? Seth Rollins is reportedly devastated. He's trying to keep it together for their daughter, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy, but everyone backstage says he's a shell of himself. The confidence, the swagger, the intensity that made him the top guy, it's all gone. He's going through the motions, showing up, doing his job, but the spark is gone. And honestly, how could it not be? The woman he built a life with, the mother of his child, just told him that everything he thought they had was built on resentment and suppressed ambition. Becky, on the other hand, is reportedly more focused and determined than she's been in years. Sources say that once she made the decision to file for divorce, once she decided to take control of her own career and her own life, it was like a weight was lifted. She's been training harder than ever. She's been studying other promotions, watching matches, preparing for whatever comes next. She knows that walking away from WWE means walking away from security, from guaranteed money, from the biggest platform in wrestling. But she also knows that staying means sacrificing herself, her mental health, and her legacy. And that's the choice that no wrestler should ever have to make. The choice between their well-being and their career. The choice between being true to themselves and being what the company wants them to be. But that's the choice Becky Lynch is making right now, and it's the bravest thing any wrestler has done in years. This story isn't over. Not by a long shot. In the coming weeks, we're going to learn more about where Becky ends up, about how Seth handles this professionally and personally, about how WWE responds to potentially losing one of their biggest stars. But what we know right now, what that backstage confrontation revealed, is that the wrestling industry still has a long way to go in how it treats women, how it values mental health, and how it supports the people who literally put their bodies on the line for our entertainment. Becky Lynch dropped a nuclear bombshell on Seth Rollins, but she also dropped a nuclear bombshell on WWE, on the industry, and on all of us who've been complicit in accepting the status quo. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to demand better? Are we going to hold these companies accountable? Or are we going to just keep watching, keep consuming, and keep pretending that everything's fine? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video if you think this story needs to be heard. And stay tuned to Wrestling Zone 1, because we're going to keep following this story wherever it goes. The truth matters, the wrestlers matter, and Becky Lynch matters. This is Wrestling Zone 1, and we'll see you in the next one.